Okay, let's take a look at the passage Sowing Community, which focuses on a family's participation in an art project. Of course, the student's going to write an essay analyzing the effect that the edible landscape project has had on a community. And they're going to use the evidence from a passage to support the response. So, in this particular one, we know that we're going to be looking at the family's participation in an art project, so we want to keep that in mind. But what we have to do is to analyze the effect. Okay, so we want to be thinking about that, the effect, the impact, the change that the edible landscape project has had on the community. Okay, so when we're talking about an effect, we're talking about some kind of a change. So when we're reading the story, something happened here called the landscape project. And it had some kind of an effect. People were here, and it's moved them to be here. So it's had some kind of a change, or an impact, or an effect. And the story is asking, what is the effect? And there can be more than one. So that effect can have lots of pieces and parts. So it can have effect 1, effect 2, effect 3. Okay, so it can have more than one. So it can have positive effects or negative effects. So you know. They can be expected changes or unexpected changes. If you're putting in an edible landscape, you're growing food somewhere in your yard, I think. And you may have people who love it, you may have people who don't like it, and you may expect or not expect people who like it or don't like it. I'm not sure. So you could look at it in relationship to expected or unexpected changes, positive and negative changes. So what you're going to do as you go through the story is you're just going to list, here were some of the effects. Here were some of the things that happened once the project was in place. Here's what we observed. Here's what happened. And that's what you want to talk about. Were people kinder? And how do you know that? Were they more helpful? And how do you know that? Were they more supportive? And how do you know that? So you want to portray, you want to give your evidence, and then see if you can put a word with it to explain in a word how you could describe that change. For example, you might say something like, the effect was people were more helpful. And then you'd have a statement or two from the passage that explains neighbors who were coming over and helping to pull weeds from the garden. And that would be one of the possible effects. Alrighty, that's how I would approach it. Again, you might do it a little bit different way, and that would be okay if that works for you. But that's how I would probably draw it out. I would just make a listing of some of the statements. And then for the statements, I would try to link them to another statement that says something like people were more helpful, people talked to each other more, people, I would try to just find a relationship that linked the statements to interesting traits or qualities about the community. And that's how I would do it. See you on the next one.